Woo-hoo-hoo. And we're live once again on another Tuesday, and I have a special guest in the house today. We have Toni McLelland, and she has brought her fairy dust with her today. So that's fun, fun, fun stuff. So we are talking about a really interesting topic, which is the role of a critical friend. And this is something not common to Americans. So we're going to get stuck in a second. But before we do, Toni, could you please just introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what you do and who you serve? And we'll just jump right in.
Okay, thank you. And thank you so much, Gillian, for having me. And it's an absolute pleasure. In fact, I can't even believe that you got me on this side of the the chair, today. But I am Toni McLelland. I'm a critical friend and a business mentor, and I work specifically with those people in the social impact, social justice, and social mobility space. So I help them to navigate change and crisis. I'm also the founder of the Compassionate Business and Leadership Framework that I've got, because I feel that that's been central to almost everything that I've done in my life. And I also like to bring all of that learning through strategy, crisis, change, 360 back to people that are starting out in business. So those social entrepreneurs that are just getting going with their business, I like to bring some of that learning 360 back to them and get them up and going. So, but I'm a real champion of compassion and DEI. So hope that helps. Gillian.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love everything that you do. It's such an honor to have you here. And I learned about you from John Asperian. So we have to give John Asperian a wave as he's busy cooking something delicious today, like he always does. And he's always seems to be the epicenter of LinkedIn because he gives so much and he's a great connector. So that's how we originally met. Right. And Toni was, of course, one of John's Friday Shouts, and we got to know each other. And I was so attracted by your headline with critical friend and business mentor, because critical friend almost sounds like it really is a scroll stopper, because your brain wants to say, is that an oxymoron? Like, are friends critical? Like, do we want critical friends? And yet that is a term that I don't feel is familiar to Americans, or at least not this American. And I think it's something kind of more common in the United Kingdom. And yet it's a wonderful thing, because it really is just about telling people what it is, but being compassionate to get them to move forward with that information. We don't want just yes people in our life. We want people who give us honest feedback. So can you kind of back into the whole critical friend for us, and just kind of, where did you come up with that? And, how do you use that?
Well, first of all, I'm just going to say that it's not really a term that, I'm never going to be found for it in my keyword search on LinkedIn. I can tell you that for sure, because it's not going to come up. But that hasn't deterred me from using it, because I think it's the best descriptor of what I do, and my clients have called me that as well. So, but you said that this is a term that is reasonably well known in the UK, but there's lots of people in the UK that don't even know what it is as well.
Oh,
so
interesting.
So it's quite unique in that kind of sense too, just in the sense of it's quite unique in that sense. But I like unique, so I don't mind if you don't find me. I don't mind if you don't find me by it. But it is a talking point. It is a talking point. People ask me about it. They ask me about that and fairy dust. So there are two talking points, and the critical friend with the fairy dust. And really what it is it's about the fact that you are a friend, but a supportive friend and a critical one. And I think people see that in a negative light, Gillian. But it's not really a negative thing. I think it's the word critical, because I was speaking to someone from the US recently, just last week, and he said to me, I don't understand why you use the word critical, because, it shouldn't be, because people will think it's critical. And it's like, well, actually, it is critical, because normally it's a critical situation. But at the same time, it's a real good friend. It's the kind of friend that,
is honest.
Like, if your hair's in the wrong place, you want a critical friend, don't you? And that's crucial information. that you're going to get from a friend, isn't it, Gillian?
Exactly. And isn't there's some sort of quote about be the type of woman that will fix another woman's crown. It's like, if your crown is a little slipped, let me be the one that helps you fix it. You want to have people in your life that will be honest and say how things are and tell it like it is. And I remember reading John Esperian, let's mention him again. I remember reading his review on your LinkedIn profile, and he said, you live up to that. When he worked with you and he was working on his membership program before it was a thing, which is now a very successful thing. So obviously, you know what you're talking about because you helped him move up to the next level. But it was a great review because he said, Toni is a critical friend. She lives up to that. She was honest and helped him see things in a different light. And I think that that's probably the role of a critical friend, is that sometimes we're so deep in something, we can't see it. We need that perspective from the outside, because that same thinking that got us here can't necessarily get us out of it. So I can see that you work with people in crisis. They would need that critical friend. You don't want them to just say, there, Gillian, life will get better. It's like, no, girl, you got to hoof it. You got to do this. You got to do that.
That's exactly it, Gillian, because I'm not, a fluff of a friend. So, that's what I say to my friends. I'm not a bit of fluff. So if you want a bit of fluff as a friend, then that's not me, because I'm going to tell you exactly as it is. And I like to receive it exactly as it is too, and there's, for me, let's just cut out all the fraff. That's all that means, gray areas, let's just cut all of that out and cut straight to the chase. So normally when people call me and they're in some kind of crisis or something's going on, I might give them a few minutes to just get it out of their system. But that few minutes doesn't go into half an hour of regurgitating everything. It's like, okay, stop. You said X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C. Repeat that back to yourself. How does that sound to you? Okay. So now what we're going to do. And it's sometimes focusing on the win-win of the situation. Because I think when people are in a situation, they get so distracted with all these different things that don't really matter. So-and-so said this, and so I went to find out who so-and-so. It doesn't matter if there is even a so-and-so. What what matters? So I'm the person that's going to keep you focused on the outcome, where you need to go, because we can so easily get distracted off. So I'm the one that's going to challenge you, and I'm the one that's going to say to you, let's stay focused. What do you need to, this is where we need to get to. How do we need to get there? Who do we need to get there? Okay, do that bit, and then we'll come back and do the next bit. So, but I'm also a champion in terms of supporting them positively, because I want it to be successful, whatever it is that they're trying to do. And there are occasions, Gillian, as well, that, I might have to, inject a little bit of humor.
Yes.
Or I use analogies or stories just to get my point across, and depending on who the person is or how well I know them will depend on which analogy I'm going to use, how pointed it is, because it has to relate to them.
Yes.
Yes. It has to relate to them. Yes. So I can share a story if you want to.
I'd love a story. I love stories. Jump in.
Well, it's just a short story, but just to kind of put things into context. I remember I was working with a chief exec one time, and they were looking for some investment. Now, they had all these companies and subsidiary companies and everything, and an investor was interested, and they said, put this slide deck together. So, I was working with her, putting this slide deck together, and, she was really so focused in on putting the finances for this company and this subsidiary company and that one and that one and that one, when actually the investor was only interested in that one over there. So, and she was putting them in, and I was taking them out, and she was putting them in, and I said to her, look. I said to her, look, imagine this. I said, imagine that someone asks you out on a date. Mm-hmm. They're interested in you. But imagine rocking up with all your friends.
Perfect.
You're not going to see them again. You're not going to see him again, are you? You're not going to see him. He's not interested. And think of it the same way for this investor. He's only interested in this, but you're bringing this, and this. But because, you know, I knew that she was dating and all the rest of it, I brought that analogy in because I knew that she would understand it. And she did. And she got it.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And she'll remember that. So that moving forward, when she has a similar situation, she might say, uh-oh, am I trying to bring all my friends on the date again?
Yeah, that's right.
Stop it. Stop it.
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there are scenarios, and I just try to, you know, look at how I can maybe inject a little bit of humor into something, or, you know, a crisis that's going on. Somebody called me one Saturday and said, Toni, I've got all this going on. It's, oh my word, it's all terrible. And, you know, and it was like, okay, so what are we trying to do? We're trying to do A, B, and C. Okay, so there's only two things that you need to think about right now. And she said, well, what are those? And I said, well, all you need to do is think about how you're going to pay me and what color lipstick you're going to wear when you see me, because I'm going to just sort everything else out. It might feel like a crisis, but really it's not. So you go and concentrate on those two things and let me take care of everything else, because it's not really a crisis.
I love it. I love it. So you just absolutely, it's like a laser beam. You just go straight in. And I love that you're just like, how are you going to pay me?
Lipstick. Go and concentrate on the lipstick. You know, this is not a crisis here. You know, sorry. I mean, I just find that sometimes humor does work. It just, you know, sorry, I do hand movements as well. So that means just kind of calms things down.
But it alleviates the stress. And I think that for the most part, we do have situations in our business, in our life, where we can start to escalate with the and it gets out of control. And sometimes you do need somebody to just like kind of, you know, snap out of it. You know, let's focus on what we really need to focus on, because the rest of the stuff is just stuff. It's just,
well, that's right. And we get distracted by things. And I think this is where it's about, how well do you know the person? You know, what are their points that you need to tap into to get them to engage? You know, what are the things that you shouldn't really, because as a critical friend, you've got maybe sometimes a few minutes to grasp what the situation is, how they're emotionally attached to it. And, you know, to really kind of bring things back under control. You know, sometimes I might ask some questions, and it's all about asking questions, isn't it? Whether they're probing, leading, closed or open, just to get the information that you want. And sometimes going back and saying, no, the question I asked you was this. No, the question I asked you was that. That's not the answer to the question, because what I'm doing at that moment is some reflective questioning, you know, or some critical questioning that is going to, you know, because sometimes people get into this space of this and that, and there's no evidence. It's all in your mind. There's no evidence of that. So let's move away from that and not be consumed. So sometimes it's just that process of sorting out what's going on and putting it in different compartments. We'll deal with this one first, and then we'll deal with this one, and then we'll work it through. So it's one step at a time as well. So you know, and I find that especially when I'm doing change projects, one of the things as well that even after all these years I've not mastered yet, and that's because everybody's different, is when I go into an organization and something's going on, or the chief exec, it's not quite working out, and I'm there to help. But because people see me as a neutral person, and I'm reasonably approachable on a good day, you know, so they come and they talk to me. Now, in that time, I've got to work out what I can share back with that chief exec and what I can't.
Mm.
So I've got to very quickly assess how I'm going to be a critical friend to that chief exec, because it's very it's tentative. It's sensitive as well. They could take it personally or badly, and it could all go wrong.
Mm.
But at the same time, where's your loyalty? Do you see what I mean? They brought you in
Yep.
to do this. So that's a piece that is always going to be, a place that is an interesting place in terms of when you say something, if you say something in that moment, or if you navigate around it. So it's a critical friend in a 360 kind of capacity.
Wow. Wow. I love it. So active listening, being sensitive, and quick thinking. These are all the balls that you have to juggle when you're a critical friend, because and especially the listening, the listening and teasing out of what really is the problem here, because sometimes it's the problem has to get uncovered. It's not always obvious. It's not always obvious.
And the thing about it is, and I don't want people to underestimate the importance of timing. I quite often talk about timing, because if you do something, or you kind of give this piece of advice at the wrong time, or it can knock things out. So you've got to do things in order. What do I want here? What do I want to achieve? Is this a distraction? How can I take care of that? Okay, so it's very kind of methodical in the way that, and I'm a very methodical thinking. I like orderly in terms of my thinking, to be able to deal with those types of things.
I love it. And yet it's interesting. It's like you're so no nonsense. And yet then we have this magic of Toni's fairy dust. So it's like you're very yin and yang all at the same time. So where does the fairy dust come in? How does that happen?
It comes in, it's with me all the time, because when I'm working with organizations, I'm not there to stay. So you're going to know that I've come and gone. I'm an impact person. So, I normally tell people that, you see me when the graph is peaking or dipping. When there's a flat line, people aren't interested in me. It's when something's wrong, or something needs balancing out, or more money, or they're losing too much money, or something like that. And so really visualizing the fairy dust, it's almost as if a transformation has happened, almost like Cinderella at 12 o'clock at night. This is how you need to kind of visualize it if you're a visual person,
Yep.
And so that's how that is. And, it came about a number of years ago, because I was talking to somebody that was really in not in great distress, but in some distress. And I thought, wow, there's nothing I can do right now. But I thought, well, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to send you some fairy dust to just lift you. And I sent the fairy dust, and she caught it, and she felt lifted. And I thought, oh, so it's really a thing. People will play along with it too, So when I throw some fairy dust to you or your audience, you're supposed to catch it, and then all of a sudden people started asking for it. I could really do some fairy dust today, or they come in my inbox and it's like, well, actually, I don't need a sprinkling. I need a cupful or a barrel full or whatever. And it's an icebreaker as well, So, and then depending on whether I've given them some before or not, or whether they've used it appropriately or not, will depend on my response. I might say, I'm out of stock at the moment. If I've given you some before and you've wasted it, Or
I love that. I love that.
It's just something to just kind of ease in. And so, yeah, there is that serious, heavy side, but some of the work that I do is actually serious and heavy. So it's that light-hearted piece, that lighter piece, that human connected piece, just trying to connect with humans, with people.
Yes. And I think at the end of the day, that's the important thing. We're people, And we do take things personally, and we do believe in magic, and we do believe in all sorts of things. So we are people, even if we're sitting there with our suit on and, acting grown up, there's sometimes a little person inside that just really could use a sprinkling of fairy dust.
Yeah, it's like I send you some fairy dust to help you along, but this is really what you need to be doing. I mean, I usually try in the critical friend situation, I guide people, how does that sound to you? So what do you think you need to do now? Because if I help people to find their own answers with my guide, then they're more able to do it without me moving forwards. So,
Absolutely.
But there are times when I have to give advice, or they might ask me, well, what's your advice?
Right.
Do you think, this organization is this way or that way? Shall I stay, or shall I leave the organization, or shall I stay? And I say, well, if you really want my opinion, the decision that you need to make is not whether you stay or whether you go. But the decision you need to make is that if you're going to wear your red shoes or your blue shoes when you leave.
And lipstick.
And lipstick.
And don't forget to pay me.
Because that's the only decision you need to make.
Yes.
Because if it's causing you so much trauma, why are you even asking me this question?
Yeah.
And quite often, Gillian, deep down, people know the answer.
They do, don't they?
They do. But they need
someone
to tell them. And I'm that person that's happy to tell you.
It's what you knew. You knew you had to do it, and I'm here to just validate. Yes, that's what you need to do.
In fact, somebody said to me the other day that, it's like someone really giving you a slap, but you don't really know that you've just had this slap. If you use that expression, but that's what they said to me. And it's like, you've done that so smooth. It was just kind of, and I didn't realize until afterwards that I was thinking about it, that Tony's just done this to me. And I just realized afterwards. They didn't realize at the time, but it's a skill, isn't it? It's just kind of like when you do something over years, you just develop it.
Yes.
Don't you?
Yes. And it kind of reminds me of Cher from Moonstruck, when she's just telling Nicolas Cage, snap out of it, because it's true. Sometimes we just need somebody to say, hey, snap out of it. You know what you need to do. And then, we'll chill and we'll make the right decision. So,
well, yeah, because sometimes I don't even say that. I just say, well, actually, how did that sound to you? What you said to me, how did that sound to you? Repeat that to yourself. And how did that sound to you? Did that sound good to you?
I love it. And that's good because they're using their own words.
That's right. And then when I come in and say, well, actually, that sounded terrible, I'm just matching what they've already said for themselves.
Yes.
But obviously, I do all of this with compassion, great compassion, Gillian.
You do. And a sprinkling of fairy dust.
Yeah.
So we have some lots of comments. Okay. Jeff Young says, trying to be first in line again, Gillian and Toni, to get a healthy dose of Toni's fairy dust. Please send some Jeff's way, because he's just amazing. Just amazing. He's always in the comments helping people. We got Leslie chiming in, and I'm sure she could use some. Hi, Toni. She's coming to you from Florida today. We've got YouTube folks showing up. So we got Diana Wilson, and she's coming in. Great topic. You always have amazing people and topics. It's so true. And John is cooking. Okay. Oh, we got the lovely Stella. And I love she's got her clappers in tow. So
always got the clappers in tow.
Just love Stella. Thank you for joining us today.
Stellalicious.
Yeah, Stellalicious, which is again another wonderful thing that all these branding phrases we bring to LinkedIn. This is wonderful. We have Ruth, the career confidence coach. Hello, Jeff, she says. I love how people talk in the comments. This is great. And of course, Jeff knows Stella and back and forth, and he knows Ruth. And then we have our lovely John Asperian. Nice to see Toni in action. I'm here and about to chow down on roast chicken. So that's what we're having for dinner tonight. Roast chicken. Somebody once said, why do you always ask John what he's having for dinner? It's like, why not?
Yeah, no, because John's known for cooking while he's on these lives.
That's right. That's right.
Everyone.
That's right. We're right. That's right. That's right. So Stella says, "Am I the only one having issues connecting? I can't hear anything. Oh dear. I hope she gets that figured out." Yeah, looks like it's probably just her thing. Okay, sort it out. Sort it out. Leslie, she's okay. And here we go. I adore Toni. Straight talking too. My kind of lady.
Thank you
And
so much, Stella. Adore you too, Stella.
yeah, and I think you guys have done lives together. You've done something
Yeah,
together
we
because you already
yeah,
know each other, right? Yeah. And
yeah,
Stella's another one. Like, you see her and she's a straight talker. It's just, come on, this is what you have to do for a
absolutely.
CV. Get on with it. You know what you need to
That's right.
do.
That's right.
That's right. And here we go. Yes, my most valuable friends are those who are willing to be honest and helpfully critical. Because
Mhm.
I was telling Toni this before we started today. In Toastmasters, we talk about giving our evaluations for speeches and giving constructive criticism. And some people, they hate that phrase because they're just like, well, criticism, it sounds so negative. But in essence, if you go to an organization like Toastmasters, you're learning to speak better, not just everybody sitting there going, "Oh, you're fantastic."
Can
You
I just
need
say as
more.
well? I think as well, Gillian, some of it is down to how people have experienced criticism before, and
Mm,
so it's in the mindset as well. If they've only had that, that experience, or people have given them bad press or bad feedback, then they just kind of see that everybody's going to be doing that. But we all need someone that's going to tell us exactly how it is.
exactly.
I must admit, I do try to be very tactful as well,
Yes.
and
Yes. Yeah.
patch you up. Make sure you're all patched up before I leave you.
Yes, yes. And and it's like when we give critiques, things like that, it's you're right. You could be tapping into people's emotional baggage from their childhood, or perhaps from, the second grade teacher or something like that. We all and ourselves. A lot of us have these like little negative Nellies that live in our brain that every time we go to do something, it's there being critical and just saying, "Oh, you'll never be able to do this. You'll never be able to do that." So I guess the thing is we do have that baggage. So you have to weigh that up when you're talking with people, because you don't know what they're dragging around. You don't know what they're dragging around.
Absolutely,
Oh, we have Marcia. We did our little live with Marcia,
absolutely,
remember?
yes, yes.
Oh, so fun. That's so fun. Yes, yes, yes. Yep, we have cut the fluff out.
Yeah,
That sounds like a hashtag, cut the fluff out.
see,
I
Stella
absolutely
gets it. Stella gets it.
Yep, yep, yep. I'm so not about fluff. It's hard. It's hard because we do want to soften things sometimes for people. So it's hard to know where to draw the line with the fluff and the flaff and everything in between. But I think in the end, people are counting on you to be honest and just tell it like it is. Tell it like it is.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, ladies. Coming in, America's Supermom. So she's got to be coming in from the States too. So we have audiences all over the world, Toni. Is
Yeah,
that just
I was
amazing?
told, absolutely.
Analogies help. That is so true. So whenever we use storytelling, it's just such a way to drive home your point, because sometimes we figure out what people say, but we remember the stories, and then the stories act as immediate recalls of like, oh yeah, that's what it was. She told this story which made this point, and that's how I remember the point. So I
That's
think
right.
that's very, very good. Okay, Stella says a critical friend tells you how it is without any malicious intent. What a great word, malicious. I'm
Mm.
always coming from a good place when I'm being that critical friend. We need good critical friends. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I mean, you learn from them, and we're doing it all the time with each other, aren't we?
Yes.
Whether it be feedback or advice or whatever it is, we're always doing it for each other. So thank you so much, Stella. Really appreciate that.
That's good. That's good. So we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. It just zooms by, and we'll get to the rest of the comments later. Toni's a really great person like me, and that we really like to go back in the comments and help people and
Yeah, definitely.
answer things and stuff like that. But Toni, as we kind of wrap up, what would you give us as sort of like that takeaway words of wisdom you'd want us to leave with today?
So many words of wisdom, but I will just say that, I think be open to it. Be open to critique because it will make you better, and, ask for help. Ask for help if you need it, but be open to it. Be open to it. And because I find that even on LinkedIn platform, people message me. In fact, someone messaged me today and, I said something to them. I said, "Oh, so you're only interested in connecting if I purchased your item, because I noticed that you've disconnected." And they explained to me something, about their connections. And I said, "Okay, I understand." So I'll always give somebody that chance, just to correct and explain themselves or correct the situation. But that's just me. But I just think that if there's a problem, I'm a good person to have on board. And I think that I kind of, got that from my dad's legacy. He was the kind of person that if you had a problem, he would, and if you had him on side, he was in a great place, because he would say to me, "Is there something wrong?" And I would say, "No, Dad, nothing's wrong." And he would say, "Okay, when it gets worse, I don't want to know." So, and I thought, well, actually, if it did get worse, I want him to know. So I'd tell him now, so that it wouldn't get worse. And so I always kind of had that in mind. And so there's that problem solving essence in it as well. And so I've been working with my network for over 30 odd years, of people that I still work with from 30 years ago, and it's still building now. And they know me. So quite often if someone comes with a problem and I can't help them, there's normally someone in my immediate network that can help. Or they know somebody that can help. And if I can't help and they don't know anyone that can help, then you really got a problem. So ultimately, there's always someone that can help. And that's kind of how I would leave it. Just, be open and continue learning.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. That's a great takeaway. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll sign off now, everybody. Toni, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, please go follow Toni. Get more of her fairy dust. She does her own live. She does empowerment lives and programs and, just different. Just go follow Toni. She's doing, let's do a plug for tomorrow. You are doing a LinkedIn audio event, because I'm going to go to your LinkedIn audio event. What's your audio event tomorrow?
It's a compassionate business. This week we're talking about hybrid working and remote working. So the positives and negatives and everything in between. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Can I just say that you do a fantastic job, Gillian? You really do. And it's been a pleasure since the moment I met you, courtesy of John as well and a few others. So, I think what you're doing with your video and your LinkedIn, you're just a blessing. And it's been fun. It's been fun on the occasions that I've worked with you. So I just really want to say I appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing and making a difference. And thank you for allowing me to come.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, everybody, we'll see you next week. And thank you for joining us today. Bye.
Thank you.